Peace everybody, Carol here. Today I wanted to share some insights that I've had about getting into what's called an NITI loop of depression. So the NITI loop is happening already. I'm gross. I hate myself. I'm so ugly that I can't even look at myself when I'm doing video, and my voice makes me sick. And now I'm going more into a spiral, and I'm feeling gross about myself. I don't want to post that video. But if I don't, I'm nobody, I'm not in the world, I'm invisible, and I'm worthless, and I might as well be dead. So yeah. I don't really use MBTI in my everyday life, but there are certain things in it that seem to be very helpful. And one of them is explaining my depression loop in a way that helps me identify the problem and offer solutions. And this is sometimes harder than fixing it is finding out what the problem is, understanding that there is a problem, understanding that maybe it's not a problem, it's just a way that your mind works. And if you can catch yourself in certain patterns, habit patterns, then you can stop them. You know, that's like what we all need to do. And in the MBTI theory, it's kind of like focus on your weakest function, and maybe that'll be one key to helping you be a better person. But Frank James, one of the YouTube INFJers, points out that if you're an INFJ or someone else with an inferior, your object is to turn on your inferior function. And so if our inferior function is SE, extroverted sensing, that means I'm sort of out of my body most of the time and in my mind. And I know inherently that when I'm stuck in a depressing downward spiral where I'm trying to figure it out, but I don't have enough data, but I can't leave the mood of trying to figure it out because I don't want to go back into a world with that problem. So I have to figure it out. So it's really in downward spiral. I notice though that when I sleep on it, or when I go out in nature, or get up and do something else, usually by luck, you know, someone will invite me to do something, or I'll be forced to go outside, and then I'll go, wow, this is great, you know, or I'll happen to find myself in nature, and it'll solve the problem, you know, it'll get me out of my loop. And here's the thing is, when you're in that loop, traditional Chinese medicine would call it that you have too much of your awareness in your thinking part of your brain, the more highly evolved, I guess, the frontal cortex. And an MRI would show that you were all lit up here and your brain was sucking glucose out of your body like mad, and the rest of your body was just completely being ignored by your awareness. And that's an unhealthy state if it's a loop. And I'm thinking that for me it is a loop. It's a loop like a computer loop that just gets, maybe it doesn't get bigger and bigger, or maybe it does, but it definitely just stays there, and there's no way out unless you can jam it or recognize it while it's happening. Like, is there a way while I'm in the loop to have enough awareness to go, oh, I'm in that loop, you know, like, can you get out of the loop, or will I be stuck? And that's to be determined, because a lot of times I don't realize I'm in the loop until it's been like 4 hours. And then I'm like, oh, I just feel that same thing again of unworthiness, because it always, for me, leads me to that path of never being accepted by anyone, not even the Aspie crowd, and just being complete a loner in the universe, where nobody sees who you are or gets you, and you're just completely, you know, like the worst thing that anyone could hope for. That's where I always go. And I guess in MBTI language, for my personality type, which lately I test as an INFJ, I guess that's the most prone thing that happens to me in my life, that disturbs it, that actually, you know, hinders my progress, I should say, or my happiness. Who cares about progress? It's all about, it hinders my peace and happiness. And in the same sense that Eckhart Tolle teaches you to be in the body. Frank James, YouTuber, points out that Eckhart Tolle is probably an INFJ or some inferior SE function, to where his revelation was to get into his body and be in the now. And I do remember, I've listened to almost all of his talks. He teaches that when you get into your body, you can cure yourself. Like if you're feeling sick, he says the number one thing you can do to cure yourself, and I tried it and it seems to work for me. Like if I'm just starting to come out with a cold or something, go and lay down and just get in touch with your body completely. And when you do that and you put your awareness on your body, there's no more awareness left for you to go into your mind and think. So that releases your brain from all that usage, that overusage, and allows your brain to relax. And when your brain relaxed, and here's the traditional Chinese medicine part, you take qi out of your brain and put it in your body where it needs to be, and then your brain can relax and then get rid of toxins and take in nutrients and kind of replenish itself so that it can work better. So that then you can like maybe solve the problem in your subconscious, or when you come back to it at a later time, it'll just seem so simple. Because what's happening is when I get into this NITI loop of self-deprecating, spiraling downward to depression, and I can't get out of it, I think that I'm kind of unable to get out of it, maybe in a way. Kind of like maybe a diabetic might go into a coma because they don't have their medicine. And there's a point at which it's too late and you can't get out of it. My key is to notice when it happens right away so that I can stop it. Get out away from the computer or whatever I'm doing, leave Walmart, whatever I'm doing. My favorite example of icky places. And then go out in nature, or even just sit by a window and look at a tree, or get somewhere safe. And that's my cure. The main thing is, for me, is like, okay, taking a shower is the number one cure, because the water hitting all my skin, that gets me into my body, because it makes me feel, I do feel a lot better when I come out of the shower. My problems kind of vanish. So I talked about Eckhart Tolle, Frank James, traditional Chinese medicine. And I wanted to say a little bit about the traditional Chinese medicine view of putting your awareness into your body. Agree with a lot of the physics theories, including my own physics theory of unification called the Blaney theory of etheric flux. And there's a YouTube channel called Dr. Blaney Physics where I talk about my theory. I'm kind of just getting started, but it's been a long time in the making, and I'm just starting to talk about it in a way that I feel like I can say it a little bit coherently after thinking about it for years and years. But all of these physics theories are saying that the observer matters. This prana, this consciousness, is a flowing of the fundamental fluid of the universe. And I just think it's beautiful to think about it this way, and it helps us understand everything. And that consciousness, we have control over it, and we can put our consciousness into our thoughts, which is good sometimes, or if we get in a loop, we need to recognize it and then put our consciousness consciously back into the body. And that allows the body to come into existence. So as a child, things that made me grow up with this huge tendency to go into these unhealthy loops, and something that I may not ever be able to get rid of, is that I was not seen as the mystic slash advocate slash counselor that I was, because I think differently than 99% of the population. So understandably, nobody understood me, at least not in my family, and a few friends along the way that I made understood me, but my siblings and parents did not understand me. So not being seen is really hard for you to remain the person that you're born to be. So I guess I lost that side of me for a while, and now I'm kind of like learning how to be that mystic again, and that understanding my feelings are real, and that my visceral sense of electromagnetic fields is real. I just don't talk about it, but I do sense people's vibes and electromagnetic fields, and I can feel these things. I get headaches when I look at flickering computer screens. Other people don't. It doesn't mean I'm crazy. It means that I am more susceptible to my environment. This might contribute to the fact that why I'm so SE inferior, because I don't like being in my body. I'm always going into my mind. I love my thought palace that I exist in. It's beautiful. And whereas the outside world, unless I'm in nature, thankfully I am now, I'm very lucky to have windows of trees and everything with no wires outside or anything, but when I'm in nature, I am very, very happy and content, and I never get into any kind of depressive spiral. It's only when I'm doing something with the computer or something unnatural that that's interesting, that sets me going into that spiral. So the environment is a real trigger for me, like the city tech. I wanted to point out that Scott Morgan, another INTJ YouTuber, very, very right on, brilliant person, said that the depression in INTJs, and I'm sure he's talking about the NITI loop, although he didn't use those words, at least not in that particular video that I watched. It may just be a fact, since because we're different, and because we're the rare thinker, rare type, because there's never going to be anyone in our family to see us for who we are, we don't develop our highest talent, I suppose, which is the intuition and the feeling parts. And so that gets shut down, and so we forget to use them, I guess, and then we go into this loop. If that's the case, and if we're going to always be triggered by the smallest little things, like the look that the person at the checkout counter gave me, taking it personally and wondering what I might have done, or sensing that someone's not quite happy and feeling bad about it, all of this runs our lives, my life, and that may just be how I'm wired, and maybe there's nothing I can do about it. Diabetics take insulin for their problem. PTSD people use medicines of all kind to take care of their PTSD. And in a way, you know, I'm not going to call this PTSD, but it is a overreactive mechanism that I have to little perturbations around me because of the fact that I can sense them. And unfortunately, I can sense them. And because I can sense them, they seem to make me upset. And then I go into this loop that logically I don't want to be in the loop, but I am in the loop. And like a diabetic, I'm in a loop and I maybe don't know it and I can't get out of it. So my remedy, and I don't think Scott Morgan offered a remedy, but I'm about remedies. That's why I study meditation and Buddhism, because it offers all sorts of remedies to help you get to happiness and peace. So and I have lots of remedies that work for me, but this is my last remaining most difficult remedy that I need. So recognize the loop, and now that I have something to call it, NITI loop for INFJs, it kind of makes it easy to identify and kind of a concrete thing that other people agree on the language, but it works for me. And realize that I can't change it, so I might as well accept it and embrace it, because if it's going to be there, I might as well not fight it, because I can't change it. So recognize it before it even happens, and I know I can do it because I've done it with other patterns. Hopefully I'll catch it before it gets to the best of me, and I'm not going to do drugs for it, you know, pharmaceuticals, because I react too badly to those. So I would have to do it on my own. Put posters all over my house until I can get the knack of it, you know, to escape the NITI loop, go take a walk in nature. You know, you've got to do something to perturb yourself to get yourself out of the loop. That's the main thing. That's the cure. So I'm going to learn to recognize it and have remedies ready. I'm not really sure if it's going to work, but documenting the fact that I've recognized the problem now hopefully will help. And the main thing that I think is of value here, that I like to tie things together, is that it agrees. The Frank James and the Scott Morgan YouTubers both agree, and then they agree with Eckhart Tolle, who's my favorite teacher. But now I see Eckhart Tolle on a new level, you know, on an MBTI level. And also traditional Chinese medicine, of course, matches with Eckhart Tolle. So all of these things tie in, and then also to physics. So I like that they all tie in together, and ultimately it's about catching myself before I get in the loop. Now, if this video was useful to you, thanks for watching it all the way to the end. And I would love it if you would like, subscribe, or leave a comment. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.